Hello, YouTube. It is me again. I just did a video. I'm uploading it as we speak. But I figured, what the heck? I'm going to do my other one. So the next one up is I got 15 of my favorite thrash albums. I don't have them sitting there in any particular order, but I will show you, tell you a little bit about my favorite records. Okay. When I first heard this, the only one I don't have on vinyl, or the only vinyl that I'm not showing, the only non-vinyl that I'm not showing. Anyways, this one, when I first heard this, I absolutely loved it right from the get-go. I thought it was like one of the most amazing releases I've heard back in the 80s. And that is Believer's Extraction for Mortality. This is an original pressing on Rex. I've hunted high and low for the vinyl. I do believe they fetch well over $100. But those that wait patiently, they'll hit you. As soon as I find it, I'm going to buy it. Up next, this is my favorite album in their collection, or in their discography. One of my top 15 albums, thrash albums from the 80s. This is Exciter, Violence and Force. This, to me, is their best album. Swords of Darkness, Delivered to the Master. Saxons of the Fire is amazing. Scream in the Night, Pounding Metal, Evil Sinner, Violence and Force. Leave behind the weak. We must take the strong in hand. Together are the wicked, violent forces in command. Now, that doesn't scream 80s metal. And it's on Bonsai. That's cool. Razor had a couple of those too. And Venom. Venom had a couple of those sayings on their early releases. My favorite album from this band, the one and only album with Jason Newsted of Metallica fame. I have this album, I think, two different CDs, and then this is an original pressing on Roadrunner. How can you not like that album? I mean, come on. This is a Back on Black release. Excuse me. This would be probably my favorite Forbidden record. Although I do not believe this came out in the 80s. I think this came out in 1990. Their Forbidden Evil was their first one. I want to say this was either 89 or 90, but it wasn't long out of the 80s, or barely. Anyways, this is Gatefold. Lyrics, there's the band, black vinyl. Comes in these standard. The whole packaging is really nice. Would have been cool if these were like a nice dark green vinyl. That would have packaging would have been really nice. However, it wasn't. Straight black, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes you get sick of the colored vinyl, and it's nice to get a black one. All right, up next. This is probably one of, if not my very favorite thrash record. Razor, Violent Restitution. This is my favorite Razor album, period, from this band. And then it's got to be, if not my favorite thrash album. I mean, there's not a burner on this album. They're just... So, I forget, I was hunting for it, and I was on eBay, and there used to be a store in Toronto called the Record Peddler, and they were affiliated with Fringe Records, and all the punk bands and thrash bands and that, they all kind of came through the Record Peddler. They were big into that underground scene. I had been in there a couple of times, not too many. One time I know for sure, and they had everything in there, like everything. Every metal record you can think of was in there at the time anyways. But I was on eBay, and there was a guy on there called the Record Peddler, and he had this original pressing still sealed. So it's on the Fringe label. They're coming out now on, I can't remember what they're coming on, Hypnotic or Unidisc. I think that's a CD. I can't remember. Somebody's putting them out now, and they're just replicating them in that, and they're coming out on the Attic. This was originally on Fringe, and this is an original copy from, when did this album come out? 1988. Oh yeah, I was 18 when that puppy came out. This next one, other than Striper, this album, being a Christian, you know, you were left with bands like Petra and the Daniel Band and stuff like that. So when a lot of these early thrash metal bands, Vengeance and Deliverance and Tourniquet, when these bands Crucified, when these bands started popping up, you jumped on them. Because most of my collection at the time was secular anyways. And when I first heard these guys, a friend of mine said to me, he goes, if you, because I was a huge Metallica fan at the time, he said that if you love Metallica, go check these guys out. Deliverance. And once I got a hold of this album, not this album, but this CD, there was no turning back. Their first few albums, this one in particular is nothing but a thrash fest, speed metal, nice and gritty and heavy. It doesn't remind me of Metallica. He was just saying if you love Metallica because of the heaviness, the speed. But the lyrical content is very much, they were a Christian band. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Probably my favorite from this band in the catalog, Overkill, Under the Influence. Or no, this is Years of Decay, sorry. Been sleeping on the job. This has Eliminate on it. Probably my favorite song from Overkill would probably be Hello from the Gutter. That's on Under the Influence. This album, I don't know, I just love this album. It's such a great album. The Birth of Tension, Who Tends the Fire, Evil Never Dies, I Hate. I don't particularly hate. I'm just saying that's the name of the song. My favorite from this band, there's a theme here. Pleasure to Kill from Creator. Love this record. Choir of the Damned, Ripping Corpse, Riot of Violence, Command of the Blade, Under the Guillotine, The Pestilence. This album is friggin' fantastic. I have the original CD. I do not own an original copy of. I had this on cassette when I was a kid. Standard black, 180 gram, printed sleeves. Just awesome German thrash. Good stuff. But I think the remastered here, they could have put that on the back or something. Maybe in this space here. But nonetheless, now I'm not a huge fan of this band. But I am a huge fan of this album. I have a lot of their stuff in my collection. To me, they just got old and boring soon after this. I I'm talking about, and I think they're overrated for what they are. But this album, Rain and Blood from Slayer, is a masterpiece. I mean, this has everything on it, and it's all done within 30 minutes. Get in, get your stuff done, and get out. And that's what I really dig about that album. Kind of like a punk vibe too, because it's so quick and fast and short. And then get in, say what you got to say, and then hit the door. And I love it. It's great. This album, when I first heard it, I thought it was Testament. I really did. And this is Sacrament, Testimony of the Apocalypse. I thought this was Testament. I really did. Testimony of the Apocalypse, Slave to Sin, Hellfire Denied, Valley Drive. This awesome stuff. Another Christian thrash. Could border on this album, not Haunt, but this album could, if you stretched it a little bit, maybe border a little bit on the death metal side, early death metal, the vocal style, but it's more of a thrash record. I will say that, but awesome album nonetheless. Next up, this is my favorite album from this band. This is an original pressing on Road Racer, and that is Beneath the Remains from Slayer. Now, this album is, to me, it's their best album. This is an original pressing. I have 2 copies of this on vinyl. On black. There's the original Road Racer. This thing is in mint condition. I think it's an import because the jacket is very flimsy. So I want to say this is a UK import. Yeah, I want to say this is a UK import. Because I find that whenever I get an album from the UK, from the 80s, the jackets are very thin. Like, these things, the covers are very thin. This is this is my favorite album from this band. And I remember watching, it was Much Music's Pepsi Power Hour. That's how far back this thing goes. It was called the Pepsi Power Hour. And I remember seeing this particular song from this particular album on there. Fell in love with that song. Got the album. Actually, I got the cassette. And now I have the vinyl as well. I had to get the CD. But that is Sacrifice for Determination. This song, Terror Strikes, Reanimation, The Entity, Pyrokinesis, Flames of Armageddon. I was talking to this guy right here when I went and seen them with Bolt Thrower and Believer. Believer never showed up. I was really ticked because that's why I was there. Them and Sacrifice. This guy is really cool. Gus Pin. I have him on my Facebook. And seems like a really, really nice guy. But yeah, Facebook has a tendency to bring people together or cancel people. Up next, Testament, The Legacy. This is probably their best as well. Raging Waters, Burnt Offerings, Over the Wall. Over the Wall is probably a staple in early 80s thrash metal. This is an original pressing on Megaforce, and it came out in 1987. They used to be called The Legacy, and that's when Zetro Sousa, Steve Zetro Sousa from Exodus fame, that's when he was in the band. Up next, what's a thrash metal 15 best thrash metal records without this bad boy? Now this is what, to me, this is the epitome of 80s thrash. Metallica's Ride the Lightning. This had everything on it. It had speed, it had heaviness, it had cool song titles, it had a cool label, the best sound, everything. Love this album. This is my favorite Metallica album too, as a matter of fact. That's the album that I heard first. When I first heard Metallica, was Ride the Lightning. This album came out in 84, I believe. Yep, 1984. I think I didn't pick this thing up much longer. I think I might have picked it up at the end of 84, maybe beginning of... I've had this for... This is an original pressing. I found this bad boy. I was on the hunt for this album forever and a day. I mean, I've had it for a number of years now. But I found it at a flea market. And that is Violence, Eternal Nightmare. This album is crazy at how good it is. Everybody knows Rob Flynn from Machine Head, Phil Demmel from Machine Head. They both were in... I remember Sean Killian getting a lot of hate when I was a kid because they said he was like the Bob Dylan of thrash metal. Like, his vocal style was very different. I loved it. I thought it was just that, different. This is a gold stamp promo copy. And I think this one is from the UK as well. And this is on Mechanic Records. I think over here it came out on Combat. I'm not sure. Can't remember. It's too long ago to try to remember. So, yeah. So that's it. 15. And I got this idea from Jürgen Amann. I was on, before I went to church this morning, I was on YouTube and I watched his. He had some really good ones up on there. 10, but he did 10. I stole the idea, but changed it a bit so that way it doesn't look like I'm just ripping people off. You guys find this? Pick it up. This is nothing but Metallica all the way through. It's kind of like those Life... I don't know who put this one out. Music Spotlight. They got it at Walmart, of all places. $15. And it has everything in here. It's kind of like these Life ones that I got this one. This one came out a couple months... about a month or so ago. Display until 11/5/21. So... And I think this sold out, but I think I picked this up a month or two ago. Anyways, and I have the Van Halen one like this too. They have a lot of Beatles. They put out, I don't know how many Beatles ones they've put out. And I think they put out a Stones one. Anyways. Yeah, so that is my 15 of probably my favorite, most favorite thrash metal records, with 2 in there that are probably my top 2. Anyways, that's it. I did one video already on an update. I'm going to check those out. And I will see you guys in the funny papers. Cheers, guys.